Pope John Paul II is arguably the most respected and honored pontiff of the 20th and now 21st century. His contribution in terms of a world scene as well as the church scene is what's meriting him now the title John Paul the Great by so many, including by non-Catholics. And John Paul the Great also had his remarkable contribution in the area of the truth about Mary, and specifically her role as the co-redemptrix with Jesus. Welcome to MaryCast. This is Dr. Mark Miravalli, Professor of Theology and Mariology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. It's my joy to be going through a history of Highpoints regarding the doctrine of Mary Co-Redemptrix. We're using the outline that is contained in this book, With Jesus, the Story of Mary Co-Redemptrix, which is distributed by Queenship Publications for $3. It's a $3 donation, and in fact, it is something that people desire to get out, and that's why the $3 offering was made. It's anybody who really is interested in the truth about Mary Co-Redemptrix should be able to get a copy of this, and therefore Queenship has made it available for that price, and you can acquire the book from Queenship at queenship.org. John Paul II, I don't know if it's true for you, but it certainly is true for me. It's every time I mention his name, I'm filled with gratitude for all that this pontiff has done for the church and for the world. And speaking of his name, what he chose to be his motto was Totus Tuus, his papal motto meaning entirely yours, Mary. And as he spoke, so he lived. His life was a tribute to the Blessed Mother. And in a special way, he can be called the Pope of the Co-Redemptrix, at least to this point in history, because no pope has done more for promulgating the truth about the role of Mary as the Co-Redemptrix and the title of Mary as the Co-Redemptrix than Pope John Paul II. 6 individual occasions he has used the title, and I want to go to those occasions, at least a couple of those, to give you an idea of the beautiful theology that surrounds his use of the title. If an individual was tempted to say, well, he dropped the title, but it's really in a vacuum. It's outside of a theological understanding and a traditional understanding. We would have to beg to differ, especially in light of how he teaches this title in the midst of a profound theology of Mary's unique participation with Jesus in the work of redemption. I want to read to you at least 2 references of John Paul in his use of Co-Redemptrix, as well as the teachings of the role itself. And keep in mind, my friends, it's the title bespeaks the role. In other words, the title is a one-line, a one-word, truly, expression of this entire doctrine. And John Paul II doesn't shy away from either. In fact, he articulates, he emphasizes, he underscores both the title and the role of the Co-Redemptrix. This is his address on January 31st, 1985, at a homily at Guayaquil, Ecuador. This is a shrine which honors our sorrowful mother. These are the words of Pope John Paul II, and I can't read the entire homily, but indeed the entire homily bespeaks this truth of Our Lady Co-Redemptrix. Our Holy Father says, and I quote, "Mary goes before us and accompanies us. The silent journey that begins with her Immaculate Conception and passes through the yes of Nazareth, which makes her the Mother of God, finds on Calvary a particularly important moment. There also, accepting and assisting at the sacrifice of her Son, Mary is the dawn of redemption. Crucified spiritually with her crucified Son, she contemplated with heroic love the death of her God. She lovingly consented to the immolation of the victim which she herself had brought forth." Lumen Gentium 58. In fact, at Calvary, she united herself with the sacrifice of her Son that led to the foundation of the Church. Her maternal heart shared to the very depths the will of Christ, quote, "to gather into one all the dispersed children of God," end quote. Having suffered for the Church, Mary deserved to become the mother of all the disciples of her Son, the mother of their unity. The Gospels do not tell us of an appearance of the risen Christ to Mary. Nevertheless, as she was in a special way close to the cross of her Son, she also had to have a privileged experience of his resurrection. In fact, Mary's role as Coredemptrix did not cease with the glorification of her Son. My friends, there's a lot of theology packed into these few words by John Paul II. Let's unpack a few of them. First of all, he's saying, again, Mary uniquely deserves this title of Coredemptrix because she uniquely shared in giving birth to the Redeemer and in sharing, as he says, in sharing the heroic death, pondering and experiencing the heroic death of her God, which was born to her. You have a unique paradox in the sense that here the mother offers her innocent child to the Father because it's the only way to perfectly obey the will of the Father. So she consents to the immolation of the victim born of her. Imagine how that tears apart a mother's heart to say, to be obedient to God the Father, I must consent to the destruction of my child. And that's what Mary Coredemptrix does. Now, John Paul goes on to speak about how this is part of the foundation of the church. Yeah. Mystically, the blood and water come from the side of Jesus. The church is really born when it's redeemed at Calvary. And then the Holy Spirit gives it a yet further birth at Pentecost. But the Holy Father points out here that Mary is also part of becoming the mother of all the disciples of the Son. That means that she's co-redemptrix, and after being the co-redemptrix in participating in meriting and obtaining these graces, she then also becomes the mediatrix of the graces. She becomes the spiritual mother of all humanity. And in really profound words, John Paul ends by saying Mary's role as co-redemptrix did not cease with the glorification of her Son. Well, what does that mean? Why would it cease at Calvary? Redemption has been accomplished. Graces have been obtained. Why does Mary's role as co-redemptrix not stop there? Because the graces must be distributed. The graces must be dispensed to humanity. The graces are merited here, but humanity's here, and many of humanity doesn't have the grace. And so someone has to bring the graces from here to here. That's the role of the mediatrix of all graces, to distribute the graces that she herself participated in acquiring because she was with Jesus throughout the process of the mission of redemption. Now, I want to read just one more reference of John Paul's use of co-redemptrix because I think it's beautiful that he chose a World Youth Day celebration. It was Palm Sunday in the Vatican, and he wanted the youth to know that they have a mother who's the mother of Jesus, but also a co-redemptrix. And John Paul uses these words when he's explaining and revealing this to the youth of the world. He says, "At the Angelus hour on this Palm Sunday, which the liturgy calls also the Sunday of the Lord's Passion, our thoughts run to Mary, immersed in the mystery of an immeasurable sorrow. Mary accompanied her divine Son in the most discreet concealment, pondering everything in the depths of her heart. On Calvary, at the foot of the cross, in the vastness and in the depth of her maternal sacrifice, she had John, the youngest apostle, beside her. May Mary, our protectress, the co-redemptrix, to whom we offer our prayer with great outpouring, make our desire generously correspond to the desire of the Redeemer." So see how appropriate it is that John Paul II, if he's going to ponder the Lord's Passion on Palm Sunday, he's naturally going to ponder the Passion of the Mother. And the great saints always pondered the two together, the inseparability of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And it's nice to see that Pope Benedict XVI is following exactly the same mode in his February 11th message in 2008, talking about Mary's unique share in the passion and the death of her Son. Can we call her the co-redemptrix? The popes do, and so can we. This is Dr. Mark Miravalli for MaryCast. God bless you.